I'm Maria Lofquist, and welcome to Excelsior.
Excelsior will shine tonight, Excelsior will shine. She'll shine in beauty bright all down the line. Won't we look keen tonight, dressed up so fine? When the sun goes down and the moon comes up, Excelsior will shine.
Beautiful. Hello, and welcome to the show Excelsior, Forever Upward. We explore our history, experience our present, and discover our future. In today's show, we're going to take a look at some classic cars and hear from some of the stories of the people who own them. So that's coming up in a little while. But we're going to kick off the show first with our usual segment, Questions with the Mayor. So welcome, Mayor Nick Reel.
Thank you, Maria. Good to be here.
Good to have you. Now, I understand that from the newspaper there was a charter amendment meeting, and I read the article in the paper. I'm afraid I didn't get down to the meeting, but it really did clarify an awful lot of the stuff we were talking about last month.
The article that was written was very complete, and there was actually an article in both the Sun Sailor as well as the Lakeshore Weekly News, and we even made the Star Tribune West section. So it was a very completely covered meeting. As we talked last week, or last month I should say, just to provide a little bit of background for that charter amendment, this time we actually had a meeting that addressed the whole concept, the 4 points that were a part of that charter amendment, and our legal counsel as well as the city staff needed to study the proposed amendment and understand the implications of it relative to particularly some of the spending caps that were being put in place and some of the nuances of the language. And the city attorney, I think, did a marvelous job in trying to explain to everybody just how the courts would look at language, and the city staff did a marvelous job in terms of looking at the financial implications of the amendment, if in fact it had been put to the public and if it had been voted in and become part of our city constitution, if you will, or the city charter. What we found was, of course, that this charter amendment, if implemented in the language that of the 4 points, would have put an extraordinary burden on the city, to the point where we would not have been able to operate our city. And thus that is why we've basically found that the amendment as proposed was unconstitutional. So the city grappled with that a little bit. The city council grappled with this idea of, should we still go to the voters or should we not? And after a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, we decided that the fact that this was unconstitutional precluded us from really even forwarding this to our public for vote. Now, what happens from here? I don't know if the petitioners will submit for another petition, if you will. I'm not sure if other residents might be also thinking about a petition that might counter another petition. There has been some discussion about that. I do know that at this moment in time, we are, the council is pleased that we did not move forward with something that would have been unconstitutional in our minds, because that would have been very, very hard to vote for. So we're looking forward at least to a little quiet period here while people are reassessing what actually should be done, if anything. So.
Very good. Well, thanks so very much.
You're
you
welcome.
made a lot of clarity for everybody, so hopefully we've cleared the air on it.
I hope so.
All right. Well, now, Nick, I know you had a very interesting and exciting morning this morning. Tell us what happened.
Well, I did, Maria. It was not only interesting and exciting, but it was very moving as well. And that is because we had about 165 riders, bicyclists, who came to Excelsior and to Shorewood and ended up at the American Legion for a break, which was part of a 37-mile ride today that they were going to do. And of course, by staying or by stopping at the Legion, one can only imagine that this was a group of veterans who are bicycling, and the ride was called a ride to recovery. And this is a ride for disabled vets who are making a comeback. It's amazing, these veterans who are in various stages with prosthetics, from legs and arms and so on, who were disabled, who are fighting their way back. And other thing I learned this morning as well is that this is not just a physical hurt that these guys suffered, that many of these people also are suffering mentally. And so there is a group, there's a camaraderie here that is extraordinarily supportive of each other. And this is where the community, where some of the businesses and business community has come together as well to help sponsor this and to raise money to make sure that our vets get the proper care. United Healthcare is the main sponsor, and then there are other corporate sponsors as well. But I was moved beyond words. I had just an extraordinary discussion with a guy by the name of Chuck, and who's from San Diego, and he had no legs, and he was blind, and he had a rider. He had a ride that was, if you will, a low recumbent bike, where he would provide the power, and there was another rider in front who actually would steer that bike. And I had quite a talk with Chuck. They were there only for about 10 to 15 minutes, but I had a really interesting discussion with this man, and I could just tell that he was into this and into the whole support system. Not only was he being supporting and supported, but he was supporting others. And it was truly remarkable. They did say that they are going to come back next year. This is about a 5-day ride, I think. This is about of around 300 miles, and this is their last day today. They came through Excelsior, through St. Louis Park, through Excelsior, on their way to Wayzata and back, and they're actually having a rendezvous at the Twins game tonight. So this is just I can't even say it enough, it's an extraordinary group of men and women who have suffered, who are fighting their way back, and it was a sight to behold.
I think that's absolutely wonderful that you've told us about that, because the one thing that I have learned in life is that post-traumatic stress disorder, which is usually the mental and emotional trauma that people go through, unless you've experienced that, you really don't understand. And a lot of people sort of say, well, that person just needs to get back to work or get back to their life. It's not possible, because that trauma is so deep inside, and unless you've experienced it, you won't understand.
It was a great morning.
Terrific. Well, coming up in September, our big event in Excelsior is probably Apple Day.
Well, Apple Day is going to be Saturday, September 10th, and of course that whole day starts at about 5:45 in the morning with the vendors coming to town, and I enjoy that time of the morning. I help. There are several of us actually that help Daryl and Laverna get the vendors into their locations. We have a great time welcoming people back. There are a lot of people that actually know exactly where they go. They've been coming here for years and years. So it's just a great fun morning getting set up. And of course people start drifting in. As soon as there's light, it seems like people start to kind of drift in. But normally around 9 o'clock things are really hopping. So it's a wonderful day, great vendors. Lots of things for people to eat and to see and to experience, and there are always, I think there are also boat rides that are throughout the day. So we enjoy the day and hope that people will come and also enjoy the day in Excelsior.
Well, that's wonderful, Nick. Now, as summer comes to an end and the kids start going back to school now, things start to sort of slow down, and we call September kind of the quiet month in Excelsior, wouldn't you say?
Well, September and then even into October,
yes.
It's quiet. But of course, this whole area just turns to wonderful colors, and these crisp fall days are so beautiful here on Lake Minnetonka, and you know, it doesn't get any better than this.
Well, it sounds like a great time to take a boat ride.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think the Minnehaha is operating into October. I would encourage people to go to the website and see what times it's running, and really come out and enjoy the whole lakeshore area and the ride that you have from the lake, and seeing that all of the trees in all of their glory. It's just spectacular.
It really is. I've always brought my friends that are, you know, from St. Paul and stuff over to our neck of the woods at this time of year, because you get to see those fall colours as you,
yes,
you know, go around on the Minnehaha. And of course, the Minnehaha is actually a steamboat, and so it's steam powered, and it's very, very interesting to watch. You can actually see the whole engine, the historic side of it. So it really matches well with the whole historic experience of Excelsior.
It's a great day to be out on the lake.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you very much for coming down today, Nick, and exploring what's coming up in Excelsior and looking at what's been going on. It's always great to have you with us. And
Thank you. See you next month.
Yep, we'll see you next month. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. And for our audience, come along with me now. We're going to go take a look at some of those classic cars and hear some wonderful stories. Let's go. Welcome to Excelsior. So even in the summertime, there are some quiet nights in Excelsior, and we wanted to show you what you can do on a Tuesday evening. Pop down to 7 High Cruises. There's a wonderful car show on, you meet wonderful people and learn a lot about history as you go along. So behind me we have this wonderful collection of cars from different eras, and we're going to go take a look at some of them and talk to some of their owners. So come on, let's go. So with me here is Rick Meyer. Now Rick has been a big part of the Excelsior car show that runs on Saturday mornings throughout the summer at the Mason Car Lot, right?
At Mason Motors, and also at Hilltop Family Restaurant on Monday nights.
Monday nights, that's right. And Rick, tell us about the car that you have, a 1949
Ford Custom Deluxe. It was built in St. Paul. It spent its life in Monaga, Minnesota, which is by Park Rapids. And apparently it didn't get used a lot. It was driven between towns up there, and it only has 44,000 miles on it.
Nice.
I've owned the car for about 2 years, and I named the car Mildred because on the title it said Mildred Amelia Hendrickson. Tell me, doesn't she look like a Mildred?
Now, what was it that made you want to buy Mildred?
Well, when I was in high school, yeah, there's always a story behind why somebody wants a certain model of a car. When I was in high school, I rode around with a friend of mine that had a 50 Ford, a year newer than this. And I always remember the sound of that flathead V8. It just sounded so nice. And really, in thinking about it, that's why I've owned 3, they call them shoebox Fords. Just kind of, it was the first modern design where they didn't have flared fenders on them. So this was considered a modern car for the time. But they ended up calling them shoebox Fords.
Now, what's shoebox got to do with, what's that mean?
It's just kind of the shape of the car. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Just strictly the shape of the car. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Okay.
But this is when people were prosperous again. They